one's best.
You take any prescribed medication, sir?
You got a lot of nerve, honey.
This is the Frankie Boyer Show.
Isn't she fabulous?
It's about getting well.
What do I get?
And staying well. The Frankie Boyer Show. Getting well.
Do you need to throw up?
Staying well. Listen. This is the Frankie Boyer Show.
And welcome. Oh my gosh, what an unbelievable show I have for you today. I'm very excited about everybody because there's a theme, and sometimes when I put the shows together, it's not done intentionally, and it wasn't today. I wish I could take credit, but it's about transformation. It's about making changes. It's about taking control of your life, being who you're meant to be, the authentic person who you are meant to be. We're kicking things off with the man who has been mastering a healthy self-image for many years. It's the guidebook to real happiness and enormous success, and I am so thrilled to have with us today Darrell Knoch. And Darrell, welcome to the program, and your story is another inspiring story, and we are so thrilled that you're with us today. So tell us about your beginning, because you too you were born into extreme poverty, the youngest of 7 children, and then you had an accident that created a problem with your face.
I did, I literally was starting to run out towards the road at 1 year of age, and my older sister, which was 11 at the time, she came running after me, and she literally tripped on the sidewalk and landed on the back of my head and crushed my face into the cement. Mm. So naturally, being on welfare 57 years ago wasn't what it is today. And, even though we've had cutbacks, it was very austere back then. And so my mother had no choice but to wipe my face clean, and I grew up with a crushed nose and a crushed face.
Wow.
And, of course, children were no kinder back then than they are today. I got a lot of ribbing as I was growing up through grade school, through high school. Naturally, that gave me a little bit of a sour attitude. I would, say, you joke with me about my nose, and I'll give you a black eye. So that got me into even more trouble.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the fact that you were able to overachieve, would you say? You were able to, though, create a life for yourself. And at age 54, you were able to retire.
Right.
I mean,
I had the good opportunity that, although that I had that, crushed face and crushed nose.
And by the way, from the pictures, your face looks perfect today.
Well, I joke with people today, and I tell them it took 16 hours of surgery to make me look that pretty. But,
I want you to talk to us right now about what life is like for many Americans, because they may not be on welfare, but they may be close to it. And do share with us, please, about how to get through the difficulties today.
Well, it's just like you mentioned. Even though someone may not be on welfare today, they may be working at a position that, they've had some cutbacks, they've had to take some salary decreases, whatever the case may be. I mean, we all know that over the last few years, the economy has tanked badly. We all but went into another depression for the United States and the world, for that matter. And so it is difficult to have lost a lot of your prosperity. A lot of us had our wealth tied up in our home, and our home values, for years had gone up and up, and then all of a sudden they crashed. And so, even without that, if you've never had the opportunities, and sometimes we do a lot of self-talk that really isn't good for us. We say, prosperity is for that other person. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, so that gives them that opportunity that I don't have. And I just talked to a lady. She had messaged me on Twitter from Saudi Arabia, 22-year-old young girl. She was really down. She said, we have very little rights here in Saudi Arabia as a woman, and just by helping her change her attitude, literally in 5 minutes, I said, don't forget, you are awesome, and you must tell yourself that every day, because we have to have good, positive self-talk. If we talk to ourselves in a way that keeps us down, we're going to stay down. But we have to talk to ourselves, say, I'm awesome. I can do it. I know I can.
I know that you have used motivation from some of the greats, Napoleon Hill, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar. How can you tell us this book will help someone who is trying to get to that next place, being bogged down by financial, emotional, being constantly, we were just talking about the stresses that we all are encountering today. People are asked to work harder and longer for less money. People want more added value. It just goes on and on and on. I feel we're in really difficult times right now.
We definitely are. And one of the things that I did, as you just mentioned, I spent hours and hours and hours, literally thousands of hours pouring those kinds of informational videotapes, audio tapes, books. I read constantly for a long time to really empower myself with all of that good, healthy information. And so what I did was I noticed that, a lot of times, just like I did a little earlier, I'm talking about, you've got to change your attitude. You've got to change your attitude. And a lot of books and tapes and things talk about that. But what I did in this book is I gave a step-by-step guidebook on how do you change your attitude? How do you see the brightness of life? How do you change your situation? Here is the steps. I literally laid it out because I always felt that was one thing that was missing in life in all the books I ever read, was that step-by-step guidebook. And so that's what I set out to do, was give a step-by-step guidebook.
You were, and is it fair to say that you were negative at one point early on?
Without a doubt. I remember early on when my older brother gave me a set of Zig Ziglar tapes when I was about 21 years old, maybe 22. And I remember in the first 10 minutes of listening to the Zig Ziglar tapes, he said, I really hope that these tapes get a lot out of you, but even more so, I hope that you get a lot out of the tapes. But I thought to myself, you know what? He's trying to sell me something. I know it. I just know he's going to, in the next sentence, he's going to say, and if you'll just buy this, then that's how negative I was. Mm-hmm. And he said within the next few minutes, he said, in order to really get the value out of these set of tapes, you need to listen to it 16 times or more in order to remember all of the information that's here. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to listen to this set of tapes 16 times. But then before I was done with the very first tape, I knew that I would listen to those tapes 16 times or more. But that just shows how negative I was. As within the first 10 minutes, I'm pointing out 2 negative things that I had thoughts in my head.
Yeah. So as you started to listen to these tapes, would you say that motivation led you to become so successful in your own personal business?
Well, it was a combination of things. One of the really great things that I had a foundation of was even though my dad always told me that I was lazy and I would never amount to anything, my mother always said, don't you dare listen to him. You can be anything you want to be, and you can go anywhere you want to go if you are willing to work hard enough to get there, and you believe that. And so early on, she kept giving me that foundation and saying, believe in yourself, and you can. And so by listening to those tapes, they started giving me a little bit more motivation. I already was fairly motivated, but I didn't know the process. I didn't know the understanding of how do I take myself from here, and that's what
So can you stay with us for one more segment?
Absolutely.
Darrell Knoch is with us, and it's knoch.com, entrepreneur, investor, real estate authority, coach, financier, author of Mastering a Healthy Self-Image, the guidebook to real happiness and enormous success. This is Frankie Boyer. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back. It's Frankie Boyer, and we are in the middle of a conversation today with Darrell Knoch. And Darrell's website, True Wealth. Tell us about TrueWealthUniversity.com. Because that's a part of your website that you are creating to help other people.
In fact, that is exactly what I'm doing it for. I had the good fortune. I know you've read some things that has given you some of my background, but I had the good fortune of being so determined once I learned how to build that unstoppable self-esteem that I went on to start and take 5 companies, national and international, in my life. And so I decided...
So you've had... give us 3 of the reasons why you were incredibly successful in this life.
Well, one thing that I've always said to everybody of why I believed I was successful as I was I always cared more about my customer than I cared about the money. The old saying that if you care about your customer, then the money will come,
yes.
Really proved to be true for me. I really cared about my customer.
Okay.
I really, truly continued to be a never-ending student of building my education level. I had 5 different companies that were in 5 totally different industries over the course of my life, and every time I would take on a new project, I would educate the living daylights out of myself. I would read and study. I would become an expert at whatever that business was that I was promoting. And I literally changed my outlook on life to say I was a very, very shy young man. And I said, I watched other people just asking. I'd see them ask for something and somebody would give it to them. And I said to myself one day, that's it. I am never going to be shy and say, I just won't ask for that. That's not nice to ask for something like that. And I said, I am going to ask every time. I'm always going to be polite, but I'm going to ask every time, can you help me further my progress in my field?
Mm-hmm. That's very important, always asking. Absolutely. And the third key, one of the keys to your tremendous wealth and success.
Well, I believe in myself. I have built a self-confidence to say that no matter what it is, I can do it. If someone else can do it, I can do it also. And that's one of the reasons that I've put together True Wealth University, is that I intend to teach as many people as I can. I joke and say I have another good 20 to 30 years left, and I plan to spend that 20 to 30 years teaching other people how do you build an unstoppable self-esteem that will take you anywhere in life that you want to go.
You believe in affirmations.
I do. I for years have had a little affirmation card that I put together, and I have it on my mirror in my bathroom. And it's not an easy thing to start out with. We're always a little embarrassed to start a new little program like this, and so I was the same when I started it. I looked myself in the mirror, and I had that little card. And in fact, if somebody goes out to True Wealth University, I'll send them the card that has this saying I'm about to say. I'll do it for free for them. But it literally says, I like myself, I love my life, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I add brightness to the life of everyone I meet. And I repeat that to myself.
So when someone is listening to this and saying, I lost my job, I've been out of work for a very long time, I have no money, I have borrowed from everyone, how could I possibly say I like myself, I love my life?
Well, it's not easy. There's no question about that. I am never going to say that it's going to be the easiest thing that you ever did. But I promise you, if you do it, you look yourself in the mirror and you start saying those things, even though things are not going your way, it will trigger your subconscious and it will change the direction of your life. I promise. 30 days and you will see the difference, and so will your friends and neighbors.
And how many times a day do we need to say that?
I do it first thing in the morning as I'm getting my teeth brushed and shaving and things like that. But how down are you right now? And it certainly can't hurt to say it to yourself more than once a day. But if you're going to the restroom, if you can make a copy of this card and take it to your office with you, and you can pull it out of your desk and say it to yourself at lunchtime and at break time. Whatever it takes to get yourself back up and get back out and go again.
This is, in your opinion, this is one of the keys to why you have been so successful, Darrell? It
is. I had such negative self-talk for myself that my dad always poured into me, and everything around me. And still today, there's still a lot of negativity around us today.
There's that terrible story that we're hearing about, is the young schoolboy in Ohio who shot 2 people and killed them. And one of his friends said that the stress of being bullied and the negative environment he grew up in all led to it. Not that she said it's an excuse for it, because it's not, but she said, I can see when you have that kind of negativity in your life. And so you were able to overcome the physical, the financial, the bullying of your dad. You were able to overcome all of this and mastering a healthy self-image. Darrell, this was just delightful having you with us today. This is the book that will guide you to real happiness and enormous success, and you can go to truewealthuniversity.com to read a few chapters of Darrell's book and to get the card that he was reading to all of us. Thank you for being with us. Come back again.
Thank you, Frankie. I'd love to.
And we will see you all next time. This is Frankie Boyer. Thanks for listening, everybody, and you make it a great day and smile.